There are some ways in which schizoid personality disorder and autism can look similar on the surface. The overlap section in the center of the diagram shows the manifested traits that these conditions have in common. So both conditions have difficulty forming interpersonal relationships, choose solitary activities, need a lot of alone time, can have issues with motivation, lean towards social withdrawal, and lack close friends, can appear cold and have flat affect. However, when we look at these conditions separately, we can see that there are very different underlying reasons behind these manifestations. With schizoid personality disorder, it's quite an under-researched disorder compared to others, but it's generally thought to be an adaptation caused by trauma in infancy or early childhood, nature and nurture type of thing. People with SPD have a restricted range of emotional expression, lack interest in close relationships, and enjoy few activities. With autism, on the other hand, this is an innate neurological condition, which means this is something that people are born with. They have difficulty reading social cues and facial expressions, high sensory sensitivity, stereotyped repetitive behavior patterns, can be inflexible to change. They tend to prefer strict routines and have special interest. So I think that the three main differences can be highlighted as so. With schizoid personality disorder, as I said, this is a psychological adaptation. The person with SPD has a defense mechanism, the schizoid defense, and this obstructs the formation of interpersonal relationships. So it creates a barrier towards intimacy and emotional exchange with other people. A person on the autistic spectrum, on the other hand, will lack social skills and people reading abilities required to form close relationships and interpersonal relationships. So this means that they can want to be in relationships but have trouble understanding non-verbal social cues like facial expressions, body posture, and vocal tone. With schizoid personality disorder, we are emotionally detached. We experience emotions, but we can have difficulty reading or externally expressing them, especially feelings of anger or tender feelings. People on the autistic spectrum, however, can have strong emotions that can be hard for them to manage, and this can be linked to their sensory sensitivity. So, because autistic people have sensory sensitivity, they can be overwhelmed by sensory stimulation such as noises, lights, textures, certain foods, or even being around other people. They can frequently experience meltdowns, and to help them to manage their emotions and cope with these situations, they often rely on repetitive or unusual movements as they can be quite overwhelmed, and this helps them to feel calmer or generally to cope with what's going on. A schizoid person may be affected by sensory stimulation, but we're not hardwired in any way to be specifically sensitive to our environment. People with schizoid personality disorder tend not to be interested in a lot of hobbies or special activities or narrow topics. This is because we tend to have anhedonia, and this can limit the amount of pleasure that we get from activities, and especially more in the case of social activities, but it can limit interest in general. People on the autistic spectrum can care a lot about interest in activities that they consider to be special and become quite passionate about these things. They can be quite obsessive over certain topics that interest them, even to the point that it can overtake any conversations that they have with people. And this can be an example of a lack of social skills caused by their condition. So, as you can see here, there are some very significant differences. And yes, both types do have a tendency to have difficulty forming interpersonal relationships, but for very different reasons. So I hope this helped to clear up the difference between schizoid personality disorder and autism.